And welcome back to my channel. Unless you're new here, and then just welcome. My name is Rusty, and this is my channel where I talk about my favorite movies, mostly horror, and my favorite music, mostly metal. And yeah, guess what I did? After all of these years, I finally got around to watching You're Next. This thing has sat on my shelves for years. And I was looking around. That's the coolest thing about being a collector is not only does your house look like a Blockbuster video, but you get the same vibe as being in a video store. Because, I don't deny that I have hundreds and hundreds of Blu-rays, films that I have not seen, but they're still sitting. I bought them when they came out, or when I found them, or when I wanted them. So it really is like, for a collector anyway, it really is like walking around. You go to your movie rooms, you look up and down your stacks, and it's like, oh, that looks cool. When did I get that? Oh, I forgot about that. And, oh, I haven't seen that yet. You really do kind of feel like you're in a video store. So when I was doing that, this hit me. So I finally sat down and watched You're Next. I had never seen it before, believe it or not. It was same with Cabin in the Woods. You can go in my catalog and see where I did Cabin in the Woods. You hear about it on all the horror channels. I've heard about them for a decade. And never got around to seeing it, even though I had it in my collection. And yeah, so it was probably last year that was the first time that I saw Cabin in the Woods. And same here. You're Next. So I finally see the great and wonderful Erin. So yeah, You're Next was released in 2011. And it was directed by Adam Wingard, written by Simon Barrett, and stars Sharni Vinson, Joe Swanberg, A.J. Bowen, and even Ty West is in this movie, as well as Barbara Crampton. Ty West is in this movie for a short time as Tariq, right? And Barbara Crampton, of course, plays Audrey, or Aubrey. So this movie opens like you don't know. But this movie opens with a couple whom I don't know if they ever say the girl's name, but we find out the guy's name is Eric. And we see a scene with them being stalked and killed in their house by somebody. And the words, You're Next is written on the mirror when the guy, or the wall, no, the glass, the window, when he comes out of the shower and she's dead in the kitchen, and then he gets gutted and with a machete. So that was pretty neat. And then we are introduced to Aubrey. Is it Aubrey or Audrey? I don't know. We'll see. But we are introduced to them as they're driving up to their big fancy mountain mansion. And they're waiting on the arrival of their children for a family dinner. Crispin and Aaron are the first to arrive. So we see them arrive and settle in. All of the rest of them arrive, including what? God, I can't even read my notes, man. Learn to write better, dude. Penmanship. So, there's Felix, Z, Tariq, Kelly, Drake. Yeah, I'm doing that from memory. So they all settle in and they, start having a dinner, and then Drake and Crispin start having a little fight. And at the table, a fight of words about morality and stuff like that. When all of a sudden Tariq sees something out the window. And he gets up and he goes to the window, and everybody's still busy arguing when something comes through the window. And then when everybody finally notices, he's standing there with a big giant arrow sticking out of his forehead, which definitely took me by surprise. So everybody starts screaming. Everybody starts running at the family dinner. More arrows start coming through. Somebody's using a crossbow on them. So Drake, he gets hit in the back, but it doesn't kill him. He's like in the shoulder right here. More arrows come in. They're all freaking out, of course, as the more arrows, which Drake hit in the back. Then we have that plan. And I got an interesting story about that plan. So Amy, which is their daughter, and the mom, who's played by Barbara Crampton, she's already fucked up anyway. She's on mental medication, depression, whatever, midlife crisis, whatever she's going through. So she's already not quite ready for such activity. So she's not doing well at all. But they come up with that plan. Now, that was really stupid in my opinion. I'm like, well, I'm just going to try, I'm going to sprint to the car. Because, I don't know, maybe none of them have seen horror movies, but, if I was in that situation, I'd be like, please, this is a horror movie. Well, no, that would be what the director would say. I would be like, well, I've seen too many horror movies to think that this is a good idea. They're not going to be doing what they're doing without having been prepared. But Amy comes up with this plan that she is going to sprint to the car because she's such a fast runner. So they get all set up, and she goes running out the door in slow motion, no less, like the Matrix. And she runs right into piano wire stretched across the door at neck level, which cuts her throat, and she dies right there on the floor. Now, what's interesting about that is I kind of know what that feels like. There is no longer a scar. There was for a long time. I looked at it when I watched this movie. I got my mirror and I was looking, and you can still see a little tiny scar right there. But when I was a teenager, we went running through, where were we at? We were running from school, but the sun had went down, so it was dark. And we were going to take a shortcut. So instead of going around the block, we went through these people's backyard. And we were running like at full sprint. And I ran into a barbed wire fence. And it got me right there. And it stabbed me into the throat, and it put this little cut there. It actually put two cuts, one right under my chin and one right there. And yeah, that was an interesting feeling to be in full sprint and nothing on your mind but teenage, taking a shortcut home, to goink, and you're down on your back like going, and it didn't hurt me it hurt, and it cut me, and I bled, but it didn't do any damage, other than leaving a scar to this day from doing that. So, needless to say, when I saw that scene of her getting her throat cut by that, I was like, ooh, that brings back memories. That brings back memories. So, yeah, I don't know how to feel to get your throat cut, but I do know how it feels to run into something like that. So that was interesting. She gets her throat cut. Erin sort of takes control, and we find out why. She seems to know what to do. Mom is put to bed, where we finally see one of the killers, and we'll just call him Fox, because they all wear masks. We do learn a couple of them's name by the end, but it doesn't matter. There's the fox and the tiger and the lamb. So, Mr. Fox, he comes out. He's been in the house the whole time. So Mr. Fox, kills her with a machete, and that's pretty ugly. That's a pretty cool scene, and leaves the word "you're next" on there. They end up, Aaron is attacked by the tiger in the kitchen, and she stabs him in the hand, which he was not too appreciative of. All of them then find Mom macheted to the head and the "you're next" message. Kelly reaches down. I mean, she's the last one left in the room. So Kelly reaches down and looks up under the bed for some reason. I wouldn't have been in the room, to tell you the truth, but she reaches down and looks up under the bed, and she sees the fox. It scares her so bad that she just completely goes hysterical, goes running out the door, across the field, through the woods, and takes off. And nobody even knows what happened, right, until they go up there. They don't know what the problem was, so she runs outside. Crispin decides he's going to make another run for the car. He goes out there where he finds that all of the cars have been disabled, like spark plugs or whatever have been removed. Kelly does get away. She manages to make it to the neighbor's house, Aaron, where she sees him sitting on the couch, naked, with a towel on his thigh. And he's just sitting there listening to that CD that was left on repeat over and over. And the lamb gets her, hits her in the face, knocks her through the window, kills her with the side axe to the head. That was a fantastic scene. That was a really good scene. I really enjoyed that. Back at the house, we see another attack. The tiger actually comes through. He's through with this shit. So he comes in there and tries to attack Aaron, whom promptly beats his fucking head in. And that was a phenomenal kill scene. When she kills the tiger, when she kicks him in the nuts, what was it that she grabbed? Wasn't that a crescent wrench? Or that's what we call them. A crescent wrench is what it looked like to me. But she hits him in the leg, and then she hits him in the back of the head, and then she hits him in the back of the head again, and then she hits him in the back of the head like about 12 more times. And this is the first time that I kind of wondered about Felix and Z, because of the way that they just kind of like stood there and watched. And she's like, she even mentioned it. She was like, "Thanks for the help." And he's like, "Well, it looks like you had it." So that is true. To be quite honest, it did happen over a period of 60 seconds. And I don't even think I would have helped her, because there was really nothing to help her for. You know what I mean? So I let it slide. The creeping thought that came into my head, like it was in hers, "Thanks for the help," quickly went out, because of what he said in response seemed the logical answer. So that was a little hint that I think the audience and everyone else kind of let go really quick, because why wouldn't you? His response was perfect. And it was indeed the response I would have had as well. So she has thoroughly killed Tiger, and she asked him, "Does anyone know this guy?" Nope. So that was it. The dad goes upstairs. Oh, they also noticed that he had threw Kelly's body in the window as he came in, so she's hanging there in the window. Dad goes upstairs to check on things, I guess. And it is there that he is confronted. The lights go out. They come back on. He finds the box. They come back on. And he is attacked by Fox. After Felix and Z scare the shit out of him. And then there's Fox. And Fox cuts his throat ugly right in front of Felix and Z, who does nothing. And you're like, that earlier, oh, that was a hint, and I let it go because they're in on it, and they talk to him like, why did you do that in front of me? That's what he says to Fox. So Felix and Z are in on it. Even though their dad was, even though his dad was killed in front of him, they are obviously in on it. And then there was that really sick scene where she tries to get him to screw in the bed with his dead mother. That girl was, well, obviously they deserved each other, but even that was too much for him. They are working with the killers. Lamb now has come back up from Eric's and is in the house. He sees dead Tiger and really freaks out a lot. Aaron is in the basement and she can hear him being upset. After Aaron walks in, he comes after Aaron, and then Drake ends up walking, distracting him, and Aaron stabs Lamb, and he runs like a pussy. He runs back out, she shuts the door, and we see that Drake had finally woken up from where he went unconscious when he pulled the arrow out of his back. So she gets them all together, and they're all going to make weapons, like survival weapons. Her and Z are working together. Felix goes down to the basement with Drake, where he's working down there with Drake, in which we have two things occur. First, the conversation between Z and Aaron really fills in some backstory about Aaron, and that was that after her birth, her dad was one of those, not like today's preppers, which are kind of sane, but was like the old 70s preppers and 80s preppers where they were like right-wing crazy people. So she had grew up in a survivalist camp, and that's explained everything. She knew all of these tricks. She knew how to fight. She knew how to make do with what is around you to survive. So that explained a lot of it. And I was like, oh, I get it. And then downstairs, though, we see Felix stab Drake to death. And I didn't see that coming until it happened. I mean, I kept waiting for it, I kept waiting for Z to try to take Aaron out. And I kept waiting for Felix to try to take Drake out. But it happened so fast. And the way they filmed it with him, like, stabbing him, 7-8 times with 7-8 different big screwdriver. It was like a screwdriver set or something. And it's like one, again. And he's like, would you die already? Don't you see this is hard enough? I'd be like, I'm so sorry to inconvenience you with my death. But that was fucked up. So Z does start to take a swing at Aaron, and she almost catches her. And I'm like, man, if you could have just waited like 2 seconds longer, because if Aaron had turned around and seen her enough to know what she was doing, that girl would have been dead right then. Don't you believe so? So, Felix ends up coming back up there. So now we're basically just down to those three. And Crispin, who had ran off to go get help. So Crispin is gone, and all you have left is Felix and Z and Aaron, which kind of made me nervous, because now I'm like, well, she doesn't know it, but she's the only one left. Because she still doesn't know about those two. So she finally, though, right then asked about, I'm going to go upstairs and check on the dad, Paul. So I'm going to go upstairs and check on them, because earlier they had asked if he was all right, and they had told her that he just had to lay down. So Z's like, okay, the shit's fixing to, because she's going, and then there's going to be, I think this is about to come to a head, is what I think Z was thinking. But she does go up there, and she does find Paul, and it's at that moment that she knows, I think they lied to her. So this is when she starts to go, I think something else is going on here. Fox appears, tries to get her. Of course, she outdoes him. She just jumps out the second floor window. You know what I mean? I'm like, she didn't even seem to be bothered by it. It hurt her leg, but what I mean by not bothered by it is that her survivalist training had made it to where she didn't even think about it. She was just like, death, machete, window, I'm gone. I mean, she didn't think about the consequences, because when survivalism is like second nature, you really don't think about the consequences. It's like falling off a building. You might as well try to fly. So, it's not going to do any harm, right? Maybe you're Superman and didn't know it. I've always thought about that. If you get pushed out a window or something, what do? Well, I would be trying to grab the wall. Maybe I'll hit a crack, and I can hang there till a helicopter comes and gets me. The point is, don't be a defeatist. It's like, I've got 30 more stories before I hit the ground. I better think of something to try, because I'm going to die trying, And I think that was like the mindset that you get from her, right? Is that she didn't even think twice about jumping out that window. It was the most immediate answer to her problem. You can deal with the next problem after you take care of this one. So she did hurt her leg. She got down there. They go out there trying to look for her. Those three. Fox. They wonder where Lamb is, but he's down there in the bottom. So she doubles back into the house. And that is where we end up seeing, Lamb gets after her. But before, she's hiding, and she hears the whole story. She hears Felix and Z and Fox and Lamb talking about this whole thing. So she basically has the whole picture laid out in front of her, and that is, he wanted his family dead, him and his girlfriend. They were going to paid these people to do this. And, we also find out that Tiger and Lamb were brothers, So that's why he was so upset when he initially found Tiger's body where she had bashed his brains in. So they really start trying to go after them now, right? Go after her now. And she, of course, now also knows that I'm in this completely and totally alone. So that kind of notches up her Rambo factor. It's like, instead of DEFCON, it's like Rambo. We're up to Rambo 4 now, Rambo 5. So Lamb gets after her. She manages to get him really good because she stabs him through the head with a knife. That was a good kill as well, leaving nothing but those other three left. We then have the giant kitchen scene where Z gets after her and in the kitchen, and they start having that big explosive fight in the kitchen, boss fight. Felix comes in, joins the fight, so she's got two of these motherfuckers on her. And what an interesting way. The blender to the head. When she smashed the blender on his head upside down, and it broke the case, and actually it went on him like a hat, what was left. And then she grabbed the plug. I'm like, really? Really? Because I've only seen that in Hellraiser 2. Like in Hellraiser 2, when they turn that asshole into the super Cenobite, and that little tube came up and went down on his head and had the little blender in it and was blending his brain. Yeah, I had not seen that before since Hellraiser 2. And so when she turned that blender on and blended his head, that was definitely something I had not seen before. It was like, good kill. You know, you have to think these horror people, they have to be sitting around something that's like, have we missed something? We can do all of the regular kills because they're classics and they're good. You know, we've got the axes and the knives and the spears and the guns and the bombs and everything else that we can come up with. But let's do a little powwow here. Can we think of some way to kill somebody that we haven't seen before? And a blender to the head seems a very good one, so that was good. I like that. Z, of course, is still fighting like a bitch. And she, like, puts a knife right through the very top center of her head. I liked her facial reactions to that. You know, everybody died really well in this movie. So she's killed both of them. Was that before or after she killed Fox? I can't remember. Well, what does your notes say, Rusty? Well, I'm too lost to look it up. She kills Lamb. Yeah, we know that. Oh, she beats Fox to death with the firewood in the basement. There you go. She got him to follow. She got him to follow her down into the basement, where she beat him to death with that big piece of firewood. So yeah, that's when they had the big kitchen fight. So while she's sitting there between these two dead bodies, right? She's got Felix here with his head blended. And she's got Z here with a knife sticking out the top of her head. And she's kind of like, well, what do I do now? When the phone rings in Felix's pocket. So she reaches over there and she grabs his mobile. And she picks it up and she doesn't say anything, but she answers it. And I'll be goddamn if it wasn't Crispin. And you know, and I do have to say something. I do know the actor Crispin Glover. You know what I'm saying? But I never understood. I don't think I've ever heard that name before. Why would you name your child Crispin? Crispin. I don't know. I just wondered that. So anyway, Crispin is on the phone and is like, hey, Felix, is it all done? And all of that. And I'm like, oof. Really? Oh, no. I had no idea. So anyway, he comes in the house, and I was so hoping, because she had set up that really cool front door trap with the axe and the brick and stuff. So I was really, really hoping that he was going to walk through the front door. That's what I thought was going to happen. But he walks through the broken window. It's like, everybody's using the broken window, and did you notice that? It's like she set up that trap for Fox, and nobody fucking used it. I would have had to say something about that. I'd have been like, you know, I really took time and set up this really cool trap, and y'all keep coming through the broken window. Don't any of you know how to use the fucking front door? But, so he comes through the window, and he's still like, I can hear you breathing, you know, what is... And she walks around the corner, and she has that cool confrontation with him. And he basically tries to talk her into, hey, it's okay, it's cool. You know, join me, we'll have all this money. Well, then she's like, yeah, but... Oh, no, you weren't supposed to die. You were supposed to be the witness. It was imperative to our plan that you did not die. Oh, yeah. So as soon as he got close enough, she did that lightning fast, like a rattlesnake strike. She did that lightning fast with the knife. You know, come on, babe. What about, you know, we can get married and all that? And she's just like, and she put that knife right through his jugular, and he fucking bled out. And you're like, oh, that was good. That was nice. And then all of a sudden she gets shot by a fucking cop once again, looking through the broken window. And I'm like, well, that's not cool. I thought she was the final girl. What a time for the police to arrive, and how appropriate and common for them to shoot the victim. So that was well played. It was also a little bit too close to reality. So she gets shot by the cop, but it obviously doesn't kill her. I think she just got shot in the shoulder, so I think she'll be all right. And he calls for backup. What was his name? Officer. It was only like a 3-second scene, but Trubiano. Officer Trubiano. So he calls for backup, and then he walks through the front door. And she's like picking herself up off the floor, and she looks over there, and he walks through the front door, and she screams, "No, don't!" And the axe comes down, and you know exactly what it did. And the movie went off, and that was really cool. I gave it an 8 out of 10. People were right. Erin is a fantastic final girl. I've seen some lists of other channels, and I think I've seen one or two like name her as their best, toughest final girl, but I'm sorry. She definitely goes up. She's definitely on my top 10. There ain't no doubt about it. Maybe even the top 5, but I just don't think there's any way for you to unseat Amy Steele. You know what I'm saying? Amy Steele in Friday the 13th, Part 2. Jenny is just it. She's just it. There's just no one that can do what Jenny does. No matter how final girl you are, the nostalgia, the fact that she took the crown so long ago, no matter how good a final girl is, you just can't unseat Jenny from Friday the 13th Part 2. You just can't do it. Amy Steele is it. She is still the number one final girl, even after me now experiencing the glory that is Erin from Your Next. So yes, that's Your Next from 2011. What was your favorite scene? I loved seeing Barbara Stanwyck. I love seeing Barbara Crampton. It was interesting. I didn't know Ty West had a little role in this, so that was kind of interesting. I was like, is that really him? Does that look like him? Let me go look up for a picture of him. But yes, he is Tariq for a short time in this movie. What's your favorite scene? What's your favorite character? I hated Drake at first. I thought he was an asshole, but I liked him by the end. I hated when he got killed. He actually turned out to be, well, he was the only good one, right? Their kids were 3 boys, Felix, Crispin, and Drake, and their daughter was Amy. So Crispin and Felix were evil, and Amy and Drake were the good ones, and they died. So it was kind of a turnaround. So, I like Drake. But, of course, I think Erin would be my favorite character in this movie, of course. Would she? Yeah. I like Drake. I liked all of them as actors, of course. They were fantastic. The cast was great. Favorite scene? I think my favorite scene in the movie would be when she killed Tiger. Because it was unexpected, it was so quick. You did not know prior to her doing that she was that way. And so when she unleashed on him and killed him, that's when she became Rambo in your mind. And so that's my favorite scene, is when she kills Tiger. Everything else is fantastic too, but yeah, that's the favorite one. That would also be my favorite kill, because of how brutal it was and unexpected. So yeah, that's my favorite kill. It's also my favorite scene. My favorite character is Aaron. Did I have any hated characters in this? Well, Felix. I hated Felix. And Z. So, and Crispin was just a wuss. But yeah, of course I hated them. So they all did appropriately. The ones you were supposed to hate really made you hate them. And the ones that you were supposed to like, they redeemed Drake's attitude and personality. And besides that shit that he said at the dinner table when him and Crispin were fighting, you'd have no right to question my morals. Well, I think we do now. So even though you thought Drake was an asshole at the beginning because of his attitude towards Crispin and even Felix a little bit, you then kind of saw by the end that he probably had every reason to feel that way about them, and he wasn't an asshole. He was just a truth teller. So that was your next. I'm very glad to have finally experienced this movie. If anyone out there has not seen it, well, this is a spoiler channel. We discuss, we don't review, we don't critique. We are discussing and celebrating movies that I like. That's what my channel is about. Although I will, beat the hell out of some film on here on occasion. But your next, 2011. I just woke up. Don't blame me. I just woke up an hour and a half ago, and I have already gotten dressed, took a shower, everything, just to film this shit for you people. I've only been up an hour and a half. That's my excuse anyway. You're next from 2011, and I will see you in the next video. Love you, miss you, but always remember, never forget, you are a very special person no matter what anybody says to you. And we'll be back shortly with another just for you. Maybe I should drink some Ovaltine or Carnation Instant Breakfast before I do the next video and actually wake up. Love ya. Miss ya. Bye.